Hey, what's up, you guys? I just wanted to make this video to share the three, although it's not limited to just three, but here are the three life-changing effects that I've noticed ever since I started training jujitsu. Now, before I started training jujitsu, I sort of had the idea that it's just another combat sport. It's just a form of fighting, right? And just to give you a bit of a background. I have a fair bit of boxing experience, and so I kind of thought the same. Oh well, it's just another combat sport. It's just like two people, fighting, but they're not throwing strikes. They're grappling in this case, right? Uh, just tussling around, scrambling, whatever you want to call it, right? But I didn't actually think too deeply about it. Um, but when I started, I came to a few sort of profound realizations why it's been beneficial for me, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. I want to talk about the life-changing effects it's had on me. So the first one, this one might be obvious, but it's being able to perform under immense pressure, right? I mean, who wouldn't want that, right? Who wouldn't want to be able to not crumble under immense pressure, right? I think it would just serve you and probably serve the people around you, the people that you care about, if you have that ability, if you have that ability to work under immense pressure, right? I mean, you might ask, like, well, why even train to, or why even condition yourself to perform under pressure? Well, the reason for that is nothing complicated, because like life isn't going to be easy at all times. Like, you may think it's easy now with all the conveniences that we have, especially here in the West, but you know whether you're rich or poor, black, white, or Asian, doesn't matter what race you are. Like, somebody in your family is gonna get sick, somebody in your family is going to die, somebody you love is gonna die, something in your life is going to fall apart, and it's gonna, it's really, really, really going to weigh you down. It's whatever it may be you're facing, that's what's gonna happen, and you will have no choice but to attend to them, because quite frankly you can't just escape life's challenges and stresses. You're ultimately going to have to face them whether you like it or not, because that's just how things go, right? And I have this feeling that when you're in jujitsu, you're sort of doing that. You're quite literally training yourself to handle life stresses. Because if you really look at, you know, the sport of jiu-jitsu, or just jiu-jitsu in general, as a martial arts, or as a form of martial arts for self-defense or for sport, like, you're you're fighting. It's a form of fighting, and with fighting comes pressure, and with fighting comes problems and challenges. And when you're in front of somebody who's trying to bring upon those stresses, challenges, and problems, your first option isn't to run away. That's just not, well, obviously that's just not how it works. Like, what are you gonna do? Like, you're gonna grapple? Yeah, well, bye. Just fucking take off your belt or whatever. But obviously, obviously it has to be voluntary, and this is where jujitsu, really comes into play. When you condition yourself into, constantly facing immense pressure, constantly facing problems after problems that your opponent is giving you, all their, if your opponent is big, all the weight that they're putting on you, right? You're quite literally conditioning yourself to do that same thing in life, quite literally, because you may, a lot of us really overlook this or don't really think enough about this, but we're adaptive organisms. Like, whatever stress that we're put upon, we are forced to adapt and we are forced to grow. And with that comes with a new sets of habits, let's say, right? And when you're in jujitsu, you develop certain habits, in the context of handling pressure, in the context of defending yourself, in the context of, you know, keeping this bigger person away from you, keeping this heavy of a load away from you, or dealing with this heavy of a load that's, upon your chest or upon your back, whatever it may be. That's quite literally what you're training for when you're doing jiu-jitsu, or just any martial arts in general that involves a lot of sparring and stuff like that. Um, and also, here's the thing: it's high speed problem solving, quite literally. Kind of just like how I mentioned before, like your opponent is giving you problems upon problems in a very, very short amount of time, and you're called to attend to them, and you're called to, you know, overcome them, right? And when you do that over and over again, we do that repetitively, that sort of becomes your default state. Your default state is now, when you condition yourself under that immense pressure, your default state is to say, you know what, let's fight. You know what, bring it on. You know what, I'll face you head on. And that's a much better way of approaching, life's burdens, as opposed to just running away from them, or finding other forms of escape. you know in a lot of cases, a lot of cheap forms of escape, such as drug abuse, alcohol abuse, right? That type of stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? But my point is that, like, when you're conditioning yourself to perform under pressure, it's not just exclusive to jujitsu. That carries over to your real life as well. That carries over to how you conduct yourself under pressure, right? Like, I have my girlfriend has this. She has this one friend of hers that she would always tell me conversations about you know her friend not sort of failing to challenge herself in many ways, because she thinks, well, like, especially in a combat scenario or a self-defense scenario, well, like, I'll get it when it gets to it. But that's not really how it works. You don't just do it just because you choose to do it. Like, your body is very smart. Like, you can't outsmart your body. If your body isn't trained to do what it doesn't know what to do, it won't do it. That's just how it works. Now, if you train your body to do what it's been conditioned to do, that's what it's going to do. Is because you've subjected your body to pressure over and over again. So to think that, like, you're just going to, you know, perform under pressure just like that without even training for it, I think that's delusional. It just doesn't happen. Like, what you do is who you become, quite literally. Like, your behaviors, your actions, or your habits, whatever it may be, it that's what defines who you are as a person, right? Like, you can't just, like, make up all these mental things about you. Oh, I'm gonna do this when this happens. Like, no, you won't. It ain't gonna happen, not in a million years, not if you don't train, right? And so that's why my point is, like, when you train to when you train in when you train yourself to perform under pressure, you'll be you'll be able to handle life's problems just fine. I mean, like, obviously, like, problems come in different form, but I'm just saying, like, um it won't be harder. It'll be bearable, because you've been there. You're doing that every day. You're training every day. So how can you not be able to do that if you're training every day? The second thing that I've noticed ever since I started training was that every time I leave the gym, every time, I just got through a hard training session, there's this feeling of, I feel a lot nicer. I feel a lot more empathetic towards others. Um, I feel calmer. And most importantly, I feel more peaceful. Now, I'm not exactly sure if that's just me or, there's other people that feel like that as well, which, it's that's probably the case. I'm probably not the only one, but um, I can't quite articulate why that is, especially the part um, in which you feel peaceful. Now, I suspect it's because it sort of gives you this line of thinking, well, like I've already been on the mats, I've almost gotten my ass kicked, I've almost died there. What do I have to lose now? Or what do I have to worry now? It's almost as if that your fears and your anxiety, they just all go away. I mean, not forever, but they're at bay. And it's such a good feeling too, because I mean, who doesn't want to walk around the world feeling fearless and not being anxious? I think it would be wonderful if we could just, walk down the streets, navigate the world without any sorts of fears. But I mean, fear and anxiety have their purposes, and that's why we have them. Because if you didn't have fear and anxiety built in your system, right, you'd probably end up dying if this was caveman days. And, you know, and you, uh, even if you don't, well, I have bad news for you. So, but still, it's both good and bad, because obviously, like, who likes feeling scared and who likes feeling anxious? But that's the one profound feeling that I've found, ever since I started training. It's it's almost as if everything is going to be fine, and that all the worries and that all the burden that the world is going to unleash upon me is going to be just nothing, and that I'll be fine, and that I'll be able to deal with it, and that I'll be able to carry it with me, no problem. It's a weird feeling. I'm not sure if this makes any sense at all. If you guys have any input, comment them down below. I'd be happy to have a discussion regarding this. But yeah, there's really not much I can say about this. It's just uh, yeah, I don't know. It's a good feeling, because like maybe because you're in there, you're committing violence, let's say, on another person. You're trying to choke them out, break their arm and stuff like that. And maybe because you've tapped into that, let's say, darker side of you, or the aggressive side of you. It's maybe because it makes you more aware what you're truly capable of, and maybe it even scares you that if you let this aggressive side of you gets out of control, you won't really recognize yourself anymore, and then you start to see yourself as I don't know, something along those lines. And so, in order to um prevent that side of you from, growing negatively and becoming pathological, you keep that at bay by, being more cordial with people, and by being in a calmer state, or by being nicer to people, right? But that's just what I thought. Let me know what you guys think down below. Sorry, I had to turn my light on now because it's starting to get really, really dark. But anyways, so the third thing that I've noticed ever since I started jujitsu, well, I wouldn't say it's something that I have noticed, but well, it is something that I have noticed, and it is in the context of, deepening your self-respect, right? Is because what is it that makes a person respectable, right? What's one of the things that makes somebody respectable? Well, it's their ability to put boundaries. And as I've mentioned before, um, when you're in jujitsu, when you're grappling, you're quite literally establishing boundaries, and you're making it known to your opponent that, hey, if you do this, this is going to happen. And so, experience obviously experienced athletes know this a lot, right? Because they're capable of, each other's um, prowess and ability. and so they tread carefully. But the point is that we respect somebody, and this is especially true for men. Um, we respect somebody because we know they're capable, they're physically capable, right? And jujitsu will definitely make you more physically capable, because I mean, it is a martial art after all. It's a combat sport, and it's, predicated on fighting, specifically grappling, right? So, and also I think that's the one thing we overlook in terms of self-respect, um, is that, okay, so personally I started respecting myself more when I realized that I was so much more capable of, let's put it this way, I gained more self-respect when I didn't say no to more rounds. Every time, the instructor tells me, hey, you want another round? Even though I'm exhausted, I never say no. Because the way I always saw it was that this is going to be an opportunity for me to find out what I'm really made of. This is really an opportunity for me to grow. And you don't grow out of just nothing. You grow when you're under pressure, just like how building muscle is. You don't just like lift the same weight over and over again. You gotta push the boundaries. And when you keep pushing when you keep pushing beyond your capacity, you subconsciously respect yourself more, because before you thought, okay, this is what you're capable of, and then you push it a little further, and then you start to see yourself a little bit more differently. Not in a bad way, but in an elevated way. You start to see how much more potential you have. You start to see how much more room there is to grow. You start to see how much more formidable you can become as an athlete, or even as a person. And that's what I meant when I say it develops, it deepens, and it furthers your self-respect because of this. Because you had doubts in yourself, yet you jumped in anyway, and you came out alive. And it's such a good feeling knowing that you're about to face death, but you survived anyway, but you thrived anyway, and that you succeeded. It lets you know that, hey, I'm not at my limits yet. I'm capable of pushing even further. And that's really one of the things that makes somebody respectable. I mean, just, think of David Goggins, for example, right? This is quite literally a man who's willing to push far beyond his capabilities, far beyond what, you know, far beyond what he can do. He always pushes himself, right? And so, yeah, I think this one's obviously obvious, but I just thought I'd make it more in that context, in a context in which, the further you push yourself, the more confidence you'll build, the more self-respect you'll build, and not just respect from yourself, but respect from others too. Because how can you not respect a person who you're literally watching exhausted, yet they keep going anyway? I find it rather commendable when somebody is just exhausted beyond belief, or somebody has pushed their limits and is still trying to go far beyond it. How can you not respect somebody like that, right? So, yeah, I hope this gives you some insight as to, how to approach jujitsu. Or well, I shouldn't say approach jujitsu, but I hope this, you know, further gave you insight into, what really is it, because I genuinely think that jujitsu is a gift. It's a martial art that everybody can benefit from, and that's I think, you know I believe that the world would be a better place if everybody started, engaging in this discipline, because the community is just, in my experience, the community has been great to me. So, um, yeah, so far those are the three things that I've found to be life changing within this journey. Now I'm curious what you guys think, what your experience has been with jujitsu, or if you have any questions, if you're looking to start your journey, or with anything, or how to even approach anything that's new. Feel free to ask questions down below, and we'll have a discussion. You know, um, yeah, like and subscribe. Bye.